Hey folks, John Cantera, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter here, and welcome to another episode of the Tic Toc Diner. With me today as my guest host is Adam Spencer. Adam, how the hell are you doing today?
Just living the dream, my friend. You?
Oh man, same thing. Yeah, I keep telling people, every day's a holiday. And what most people don't understand is, logistics can be miserable. Come on, what do you mean every day's a holiday? I'm above ground. As long as I'm above ground, it's a holiday, folks. I'm just happy to be alive.
Yep.
It is, we're about to celebrate the 250th birthday of our country. So God bless the red, white, and blue. But we'll get more into that later. We got a great show today. Today, this is for the shippers. We've got a wonderful fraud prevention program brought to you by my former co-host, Jeff Dickinson, who's going to roll that out here. So, folks, I hope you sit back and enjoy. For the Freight Fraud Task Force, the Lounge Media Group presents the Tic Toc Diner Podcast, serving up freight fraud with a side of prevention. Here is your host, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, John Cantera. How you like my new intro?
I love it.
How you like that? I keep trying to toy with it and improve the production value because, as you guys know, it's just me. I just do all this stuff by myself. So I don't have like a fancy producer sitting in the background making sure everything's right. And I'm so low tech, it's crazy. But Jeff, my friend, the master architect of the pyramids, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Everybody ready for the holidays?
Oh, dude, I cannot wait. The pontoon boat is rented. I got to go buy the shrimp, and we're going to be hanging out at Crab Island in Destin, Florida. For those who don't know, Crab Island is a sandbar that rests in the middle of a pass off of Destin Beach. And it's just a huge party atmosphere. There's usually a barge with a stage on it. Radio stations come out and blast their stuff. There's usually vendors on barges as well. It is going to be a wild time. So if you happen to be in Destin, come look for me. I'll be out there and out and about. Jeff, what are you doing this weekend?
You know what? Well, fortunately, a lot of my shippers are closing their doors like half day today and off tomorrow. So, hustling and moving freight before then, like normal stuff. But not really doing too much this weekend. Just going to hang out. I'm going to be selling some flags for the Knights of Columbus at the 4th of July parade in town here with a bunch of my brothers. Having a few cocktails, going out to dinner, and doing the thing, doing the barbecue and all that kind of stuff. So I just hope the weather lasts because we're going to have some massive storms up here because of the weather that's rolling in. It's pretty hot up here. So.
Oh yeah. I know it's coming. I do know it's coming. Adam, what are you doing this weekend, buddy?
Barbecuing some shoulders and just
Nice.
Hanging out with neighbors, having a good time.
Man, however you celebrate this weekend, please, folks, try to be safe. And I'd also like to welcome the folks who are watching us on X on the Logistics Lounges profile. As you can see, you haven't seen my face on this profile in a long time. Yes, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter is back on the Lounge Media Group. This is our first show back. So thank you so much for joining us. And we're very much looking forward to being here for a very long time to come. Jeff, let's go ahead and get into what you're doing. You have built a comprehensive probably doesn't even begin to describe it, a comprehensive fraud prevention program geared towards shippers. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, like when you go to a beach and the lifeguards are off duty and it says enter at your own risk. Well, it's pretty much similar to what I built and what we're facing in the industry. We all talk about the vetting tools. I'm not against technology, but let's face it, there's a risk in everything that we do in logistics. And I've been in it for 46 years, and I've seen the evolution of technology, the good and the bad and the ugly. And the thing is, it's that warning sign. If you're going to a private beach, you see that enter at own risk, lifeguards not present. So it's what you do after the fact when you get those type of warning signals from those vetting tools that says, hey, you better look out. You better, dot your I's, cross your T's to make sure that, you're in line and you're compliant, and that you're doing the right thing to protect your image, your brand, and your reputation, not just yourself, but for the company that you're working with. And I've seen a lot of stuff on the shipper side where I've never administered what my predecessors did. I always ripped things up and started from scratch and identified those gaps and those loopholes. And this is what this whole program is. And I'll just show you the size of it real quick. That's
Oh, wow.
it's about 11 pounds, about 7.5 months worth of work. And what I'm going to do today is do a small presentation, tell you what TRMOS is. That's TRMOS, which stands for Transportation Risk Management Operating System. Pretty much built for the shippers, but also for brokers as well. But I identify the shippers because you don't really hear too much about that. And as you well know, from the recent decision from SCROTUS with Montgomery and Carib, let's face it, it's not just going to be brokers, it's going to be shippers. So this is going to try to help out the shippers. Is it a guarantee that it's going to stop all fraud? No, listen, that would be ridiculous, right? The idea is to minimize it and have your ducks in a row in case you get pulled in, to a court case. You want to make sure that ISO, if you do what you say what you do, and you document it, and make sure that not just that one facility, but all facilities that you are controlling within your realm, cross country or whatever, for the same company, of course. So let's get into it. If you could just bring up the first slide, and I'll take it from here, that would be great.
You got it, folks. Don't be scared. You won't see our pretty faces anymore. So we won't be breaking your cameras. The screen's going to be full with this presentation, but you'll still hear us. Let me put that up here, and there we go.
Appreciate it, John. So just a little bit about my business. I am the president and CEO of RGTX Logistics Solutions. I've been an independent Landstar agent since 2019, and I've been in the business in logistics operations for 46 years. 38 years of that career have been spent on the shipper side. So probably the number one question, guys, is what is TRMOS? Well, TRMOS stands for Transportation Risk Management Operating System. It's much more than a freight fraud prevention program. It is a complete operational framework designed to help shippers and freight brokers strengthen their transportation operations through documented processes, accountability, operational discipline, due diligence, and continuous improvement. We don't really hear about that continuous improvement, nor do we have anything in place to tell us how well we're doing it to prevent fraudulent activities to happen. Sure, after the fact, it happens, but what do you do after the fact? What are the processes? What are the steps? What are you doing to improve, your steps internally? Because if you remember, fraud would not exist if shippers didn't exist. The front line, the front line of defense is at the shipper's door. They are our eyes, no matter which way you look at it. So the system encompasses 3 integrated frameworks: Supply Chain Protection Partnership, which is called the SCPP, building stronger, more accountable partnerships between shippers and their transportation service providers. 2, Supply Chain Protection Standard. We don't really have standards in place, establishing measurable operational standards, governance, and best practices that promote consistency and reduce risks. 3, the Transportation Risk Management Program, TRMP, providing a structured approach to identifying, assessing, mitigating, and continuously improving transportation-related risks, including freight fraud vulnerabilities. Together, these frameworks form TRMOS, a practical system designed to help organizations better protect their freight, customers, reputations, and bottom lines. So let's get into it. Trifecta here. You have the shippers, you have the freight broker, and then you have the carrier. Here are the three principles that create the TRMOS program. It's a system like no other that creates discipline and holds people accountable. Those are the two most important things: discipline and accountability, which we lack. So, again, this is created by me, 46 years in the business. So the difference for TRMOS. Most assessments evaluate what shipper and broker does, evaluates how well it is done, and whether it can be consistently demonstrated. It recognizes that freight fraud prevention is built on more than data, software, compliance checklists. Those tools provide information, but they do not replace operational judgment. TRMOS assesses the human element: leadership, discipline, accountability, critical thinking, communication, and execution. Very key to success. It measures whether people understand the process they follow, recognize emerging risks, ask the right questions, and make informed decisions when unexpected occurs. It's at the core. TRMOS is built on simple belief. Technology informs, data supports, people understand, discipline protects, accountability sustains, defense in the details. So here's an executive summary of transportation industry and the protection that we have. Most transportation organizations measure cost, service, capacity, on-time delivery. Very few measure fraud exposure, transportation risk, due diligence, reasonable care, and accountability. The CSPP, CSPS, and TRMP frameworks were here to create reduced transportation risk, improve operational accountability, create defensible due diligence, protect freight, brand, and company assets, establish measurable transportation governance. Why I built this system? Throughout my career, I repeatedly observed lack of documented decision-making, poor operational oversight, inconsistent transportation standards, fraud vulnerabilities, reactive management cultures. What I've learned, the greatest transportation losses are rarely caused by a lack of technology. They are caused by a lack of discipline, a lack of accountability, process control, and due diligence.
Now, I'll tell you, being a veteran, checklist. I'm loving this.
So, how has the industry trained? Historical threats, cargo damage, service failures, capacity shortage, modern threats, double brokering, identity theft, strategic cargo threat, cybercrime, fraudulent carrier activity, nuclear verdicts, brand damage. Executive takeaway: the transportation risk profile has fundamentally changed. Management systems must evolve with it. One question that every executive must answer: can you prove reasonable care? We all talk about that. You heard that how many times, John and Adam? You heard it all the time.
Yeah, I've said it myself pretty much every day since the decision came out.
Right. Following an incident, you can damn well expect attorneys, insurance companies, customers, regulators, courts will ask, what did you do to prevent this? The SCPP, SCPS, and TRMP frameworks were designed to help organizations answer that question with high detailed documentations and evidence. Defense is in the details. Yes, I stole it. Where everybody's heard the devil is in the details. Well, yeah, I mean, if you don't have the details and you shortcut, they're trying to make things go faster, you're going to lose. You're going to lose big time. Defense is in the details, and they have to be in place and used on a daily basis. This is not, guys, this is not a one-time deal. This is something that has to go on over and over again. If you're
This
going
is
to
basically a lifestyle change, is what we're talking about.
it is absolutely. So fraud prevention is not software platform. Risk management is not a spreadsheet. Protection occurs through procedures, standards, verification, documentation, and accountability. Small failures create big problems. Missed verification, missed escalation, missed documentation, oversight. These are the areas where fraud succeeds. So, how does this break down? So, the TRMOS system, together they create the government's accountability, due diligence, risk control, and continuous improvements. I said that earlier. What is SCPP? Shipper plus service provider. The SCPP establishes partnership expectations, shared accountability, communication standards, operational alignment, risk ownership. Oh, you've heard that before, right? It wasn't me, it was Bob, it was Jim, Stacy that did that, No, you have to have ownership, and a lot of people don't want to hold themselves accountable, or companies don't hold people accountable, and that's why they see fraudulent activities happen over and over and over again. What is the SCPS? The rules of engagement defines minimum requirements, performance standards, risk controls, documentation requirements, and compliance expectations. What is TRMP? It's the operating framework, identifies risk, measures risk, controls risk, audit risks, and improves control, right? Now, this is key. Who measures risk? Who has scorecards? How many of you implement things but don't really know how well you're doing as far as how many incidents have occurred, or the incidents that did occur, are they escalating or de-escalating? Who has those in place? This is part of my program. So the transportation risk maturity model, level 1, reactive, level 2, controlled, level 3, managed, level 4, measured, level 5, optimized. Most companies operate between levels 1 and 2. The SCPP, SCPS, and TRMP frameworks moves organizations towards level 3 and 5. Otherwise, they stay within levels 1 and 2. The 600-page monster system. What's included? Standard operating procedures, work instructions, KPI scorecards, auditing programs, governance models, fraud prevention controls, accountability systems, risk management standards, training materials, and executive reporting tools. Tell me, who has those in place? Not many. Competitive positioning. Most consultants deliver assessment recommendations report. What I provide is assessment standards, SOPs, KPIs, audits, work instructions, accountability systems, and implementation tools. Why we're different? Well, 46 years of extensive shipper experience, vast 3PL, 4PL logistics operations experience, real world enterprise transportation management leadership, and of course, brokerage experience, dedicated operations, not transactional. So the implementation roadmap, phase 1, assessment, 2, design, 3, deployment, 4, training, 5, audit. And then what are we going to do to improve what we put in place? And how are we going to measure that improvement? So the executive CTA, ask yourself, can we prove reasonable care? Can we demonstrate due diligence? Can we defend our decisions? Can we measure transportation risk? If I asked you right now, show me your fraud prevention program and policy in 5 minutes or less, can you produce it? If not, the SCPP, SCPS, and TRMP frameworks were built to help you to answer those questions. Final message: protect freight, protect brand, protect company. The best fraud protection step that you can take is the ISO framework philosophy. If you say what you do what you say, and then document it. The transportation industry has spent decades measuring cost and service. The future belongs to organizations that can measure protection, accountability, and risk. Because how do you truly know how well you are preventing fraud? The transportation risk management operations can do that for you. That's my contacts. If anybody wants to learn more, again, this was a quick summary of everything that I put together. But I mean, we're talking scorecards, accountability. We're talking about bringing in the CEO, the CFO, the president, because of the corporation, because they do not really know. I hate to say it, but I've worked in that industry. I'll say it again and again. If nothing changes, in the most simplistic terms, the CFO, if they don't see a change in 10,000, as an example, they're just going to sign off on 10,000 all the time. It's when things change or things are not brought up to the hierarchies to let them know what's exactly going on, or if they can't identify the gaps and the loopholes within their organization, inbound, outbound, checkpoints, dock operations, office operations, inbound logistics, outbound logistics, claims, freight payment services, even bringing in factoring companies or whatever. If they don't have that in place, they're gonna be in big trouble. And again, the scorecards, the KPIs, there's a lot of things. They don't have that. Nobody measures the risk, and let's put it this way. Technology is built by humans. Humans are known to have made errors. Not all data is pure. There are abnormalities in everything that we touch in technology because it's coming from a human that's inputting that. It's the old saying or adage, go, garbage in, garbage out. How do you identify the abnormalities? How do you pull those abnormalities out to get a set of guidelines? And how do you measure those guidelines against what you already have in place? And how do you cascade that out, whether it's in a KPI form or work instruction, a form of process improvement, and then you create these work instructions. You don't rip up the work instruction for each process or KPI. You make addendums to the original document so that you can measure that progress over time, whether you're succeeding or you're failing in the areas that will be identified to say, we need more focus on this area, because look how many incidents we had. We've done this, we've done that, we've done that. Well, what happened here? Who missed the step? So it's pretty complex, but hopefully you get the gist of that.
We got a question from a viewer here. Is there a system to see?
That's a great.
I want to know what the interface is for shippers.
Okay, so the two things, and I've been asked this before. It is going to be digitized. It's a lot of work that has to be put into it. My blood, sweat, and tears of, I'll just say 38 years have been put into this. I have dug into my archives. I'm one of few people that pretty much kept all my business cards when, I was a warehouse worker and forklift driver and truck loader and operations manager, all that kind of stuff. And I still have that. I have documents from when I worked for Schneider National on their logistics side. I've had it on the carrier side, just all these things. Now, that was a while ago, but I took all of that information and then I evolved it to where we are now and all the things that I'm hearing, but there's things that I'm not hearing that concern me. And that's why I built this thing. Again, I'm working with the lawyer. who is perusing through this, a transportation lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I do have an NDA for all this material because I put a lot of work into this. There's no guarantee on this. I think that I have covered all the areas in great detail, over 600 pages. It also it teaches newbies that are coming out of college or coming into the industry that are working for a shipper or working for a broker, the guidelines and all the different acronyms that a broker would use to identify fraudulent activities, all that's all written out so they can go to this area and say, oh, I've never seen this before. What does this mean? And then here's the KPIs and here's the scorecards and here's the work instructions and all of that goes with each area of that for every segment so that people will have something to go to. And this is not fast to put this 600, almost 700.
I can see this being an entire semester course at some place like Georgia Southern University, where they have a logistics school just for this system. This is amazing. Is it possible that I can get a copy of your presentation that I can have posted on our website?
Yes, sure.
The PowerPoint you did?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I can definitely do that. Here's another thing too, and I'm working with an insurance company as well, and I've already met with them and I've presented it to them. Here's the other thing as well. This is going to reduce your warehouse insurance premiums when they know. Look at it this way, John, and I know you know this. At any given time, OSHA can walk into a warehouse and do an inspection, right, to see whether you're in compliance, whether your forklift drivers have their certification, whether emergency doors are not blocked, whether the fourth tier of a rack in the warehouse is totally wrapped and is 18 inches below the shower heads. I could just go on and on and on. Is there water in the eye wash near the battery station? I mean, there's just so many different things. The thing here is giving the insurance company the ability at any given time to show me the process. What do you have in place? You know, it's not just a checklist, but it's an identifier. These people know what they're doing. Okay. If something tragically happens and they've asked these questions, the correct questions, and they've documented it, it's almost like when you do a hazmat shipper and you give out the SDSs and you've got the bill of ladings and everything like that. What I used to do is I had a huge cabinet with all the SDS for all the UN numbers that I particularly shipped from my place. And then I would have the carriers, I would have their documentations, their certifications, and all of that next to it in case something happened, a rollover or an explosion or something like this. I would be able to say, oh, it was John Smith from ABC Company. Here is his certification, all this. You have to be proactive in this industry. If you're reactive, you've missed the boat. You're done. You're toast. So you have to have that proactive mindset to get ahead of the curve before that shipment ships. And I said that a ton of times. Don't wait for the incident to happen. Prepare yourself for what would happen and how are you going to prevent it before it happens. Make it sense?
My mind is blowing up. My mind is blowing up. Yeah, I know you have been dealing with the warehousing side for a very, very long time. And I know that this pours in all that blood, sweat, and tears. And as you went through the presentation, I'm like, oh, yep, did that. I remember doing this. I remember setting that up because most warehouses that I've run in my career have been foreign trade zones. So you were required to have certain processes in place. And I think that probably took it to a stage 3 in your process for most places. So that it jives along with my experience and with what I always hope to see in a warehousing standpoint. You know, it's one of the good things about it. about my background, I've been in every facet of supply chain domestically that you can imagine. So that's why I see the different scams and how they play out all across the entire supply chain. But I mean, this right here is groundbreaking. I kid you not. This is something that you should be selling to universities as a course. We're going to be calling you professor soon here.
No, thank you. No, it's just like, listen, and there's not too many people that can say this, and I'm not ego driven, but I love this industry. I have a passion for it. 46 years in the business, and I am not retiring anytime too soon. There's much to be done. There's much to share. There's much to learn. I try to learn every single day, and if you're not learning every single day, you're going to get left behind. Just remember, and I don't care about aging myself because I'm proud of it, man. No cell phones, no computers, none of that. Everything was done by Rolodex, a landline. We had to do. It was tough. It was, and don't get me wrong when I say it. It's not as easy as it is today because you have all that stuff that's at your fingertips that enables you to do what you do. But again, the human element is involved in that, into the decision making and the building of this technology. It's all human based, but it also comes from being where we are, seeing where we are today. And if you just take that and you switch that, you say, okay, here we are today. Where are we going to be in 46 years from today? You know what I mean? You've seen it. We're not done. We're far from where we need to be. Will we ever get there? I don't know, because in 46 years, we're still not there. It's coming faster. Back then, speed was the way you did business. Must get out at the end of the month. Have to make budget. Have to make forecasts. All this kind. Today, speed kills. Speed kills operations in logistics. The faster you move, the more vulnerability that you create, because now you have to slow down to speed up to move forward in a very systematic way. And this program that I put together, pretty much, I believe, lawyer looking at it, I believe he believes, insurance company, they believe, we need to change it again. We need to have access to drivers. We need to be able to build those relationships that we built in the past. We don't have that today because nobody really gives a crap about them. Relationships is key to this business, guys. It is.
What I love about what you've built, I mean, because you got these 700 plus pages sitting there. Okay. When I was an instructor at the Air Force Logistics Schoolhouse back at the turn of the century, one of the things that I liked to teach, because things were starting to go digital at that point, we were using a system called LogMod to process all of our deployment operations and whatnot. Everything was starting to get digitized. And I was like, look, guys, you still have to be able to operate via a pen and pencil. There are times in this industry when you don't have anything more than that. You're in the Southeast, you get hit by a hurricane, yet you're staging relief supplies. All you have is a pen and pencil because you have no power. Okay, you have to be able to operate it off of checklists. You have to be able to operate it off of pencil and paper and be able to keep records. And this helps to teach people how to do that, how to do proper warehousing operation, and not just a proper warehousing operation. This is how do you protect yourself in a proper warehousing operation. Proper warehousing operation, Jesus, that's going to be a 1,200 page book, But seriously though, this is something that takes me back to my core, to my starting point as a professional, and really speaks to me in volumes. I just can't gush enough about what you're doing.
Well, I'll tell you what, and this is a fact. Technology today is depriving people of creativity. They're relying too much on the technology, and they're not really being able to dig in. They assume because they listen too much to it, and they don't think outside of that technology. The technology says it's this, so I should do that, right? You need to really start looking. People, it's like listening. Some people listen with intent. Two different things.
Mm-hmm.
They listen, okay, yeah, so what? When you listen with intent, there's questions that go with that because you're listening, you're trying to understand, and now you're going to refute something or you're going to ask another question that needs to be answered. The technology can't do that because it doesn't have a heart, doesn't have a soul, doesn't have that practical experience of being in that situation and watching the mechanisms of logistics turn and burn and how they're intertwined with so many different areas. It's much more than just shipping freight. It's much more than that. It's the complexity of the whole thing, which I'm so happy I had the opportunity of working in there because that perspective brings everything to fruition that I dumped in here. And there was one thing that I do thank you very much, John, that we had a conversation probably about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and I was telling you about this thing, and you said, "Did you think about factoring?" I remember that thing, and I said, "Oh yeah, you know what? Yeah." And the reason why I forgot about factoring because I didn't have to worry about the factoring when I was on that side of the business, but it has so much impact on this as well. So it's those things. Everything else, I think I pretty much got down packed. Here's the thing: it's almost 700 pages, and I'm still thinking of more stuff to add to it because when I'm reading it over again, I'm looking through the notes and trying to compile stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, you get those oh yeah moments, that light bulb goes off. I remember that, and that's how you just keep on, like you said, pencil and paper.
Us OGs start referring to that as a senior moment.
Right. With a senior moment, and I hear out there, and listen, I'm not downplaying anybody that's working in logistics, but when I hear people that are making programs and they say, well, I compressed it to 40 pages, I compressed it to 60 pages or whatever. No compression, guys. Compression is shortcuts. It leaves open gaps and loopholes for fraudulent activities to go through. If you're going to write something, damn it, you need to write down. It was just like when I did work instructions and cross-training people in the warehouse. I asked those people to write their job description and what their role is. I want you to put that in a work instruction program. When you're done, and that's the inbound specialist, give it to the outbound specialist and tell them to do your role. If it's written right, he or she should be able to jump in your seat and make all those moves that you do. And I did that for the simple reason, vacation, somebody gets hit by a bus, someone's sick or whatever. I can take somebody in the country because when I was working for Ford, we had many different facilities over. I mirrored the best practices and I dumped it into every single facility. So if I had, and I went all over the country, if I had to go and take over for another logistics manager because something happened to him out in Twin Cities, right, or in Charlotte or Dallas or whatever, I could go in there and I'm walking into my office. I'm looking at my filing cabinets. I'm looking at my process because I built it like ISO. If you do, like I say it all the time, I'm such a whatever, but I built it so do what you say what you do, and you document. So the next person, if they need to find something and you go through an ISO audit, you'll be able to get into that cabinet and pull that sucker out there as soon as possible. So it's highly structured, highly organized, just like the military. That's what Snyder and National was. Most of their people there are highly structured people, a lot of ex-veterans and stuff, and they mentored me, they coached me, and they were very constructive disciplinarians. I believe in this industry, everybody needs a highly constructive disciplinarian. It's good, makes you feel like shit, but it's really good. You just don't realize how good it is at that time because you feel like crap and you feel defeated and everything, but it's one of the best learning lessons that you can ever have. So if you're a logistics manager, a manager of any type, and you want to discipline your people, do it constructively so they leave there with some more intelligence and knowledge than what they start off in the morning, and they'll come back and hopefully, if they really understood and listened with intent, they're going to say, thank you, I appreciate that, you're right, I was wrong. And that's how your position escalates and you move up the ranks. And I failed miserably, guys. You know, I'm not afraid to say it. I'm glad I did, man. I fell on my face a lot of times, and I had some mentors and coaches that picked me up and believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And they made me work, man. They made me work like unbelievable. That I missed out on a lot of things. Do I regret a lot of things? You know, Adam has a small kid and stuff like that. You know, it's really good that he's able to spend a time with his child. I didn't have that. I missed so many different events because I wanted to grow, and I did it all the wrong way. Was it right or wrong at that time? You know, it was wrong. You can't get them back. But I learned a really good lessons, and I've seen so many different stuff. So this is what this system is about. I want people to understand that there's a better way besides technology, that you can protect yourself and still do what you do, but do it much better and feel that you accomplished something at the end of the day. And that it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of understanding, but once you get it down packed, it's going to be like waking up in the morning, brushing your teeth, knowing the back of your hand, how to dress, drive a car, all that.
Yeah, but I feel this going into a similar direction that I think is probably the biggest issue across all of supply chain at this point: lack of education. I think there is a massive lack of education that exists across the industry. And I've been feeling that for at least the last 15 years. I remember I was running a warehouse at one point about 15 years ago. And I take a lot of time. I would bring my guys in and for 2 hours additional time every month. I pay them 2 hours of overtime every month to sit down and just go over procedures, go over why we do things a certain way we do, so they can kind of anticipate what is going on from a business perspective, from a process perspective. You have their opportunity to put inputs. And you know, my supervisors would come out and visit my sites and sit there and say, why are you taking the time to do this? Why are we spending this money on that? Why are we training these guys? You know, we may actually lose these guys because they're going to take this advanced knowledge someplace else. And I said, okay, so what happens if you don't train them?
Correct.
What happens if you don't educate them? You know, yeah, you take the risk that they may go somewhere else and take that knowledge with them. That's okay. You know, growing people, to me, is a responsibility of a leader. And if that means they grow and they go somewhere else, that's okay.
Hey, John, listen, if there's a logistics manager out there that doesn't do that, you don't belong in your role, dude. I don't care. I don't care who you are, because if you're only as good as the people that you hire and train and build upon and educate and help them to grow. If they're not growing with you, how are they going to grow you as a person? You know, a lot of the logistics managers out there, you know, some time ago used to take all the credit. They never give the credit to their people who are in the trenches doing the hard work every single day. You know, I always praise them. If I had a meeting, managers meeting, and I had to talk to other managers, I used to bring my people in there. Why? Because they knew it better than I did. You know, I knew everybody's job, but they were doing it every single day. There's things that they see that I didn't see. I was always on the floor. I had an office, but my door was open, but I was always on the floor in the operations, not micromanaging, just listening to what's being said on the floor. And what, you know, it tells you what's clicking and what's not clicking and where the problems are, the gaps, the loopholes. Again, you know, it's what I call the hidden bank opportunities. You heard me say that a lot of times. They know the bank is there. They just can't find the door or they have the what do you call it? The code to open it up. You know, and you don't get that sitting behind a desk and just finagling. You got to be part of that. You know, it's just like being in the Army, John. You know it too. If you're not part of the troops and doing what the troops are, how good are you as a leader? You're not. You know. And,
so, at what point in your career did this mindset be instilled into you? Somebody had to have inspired you. But where'd that come from?
It came from a very good friend of mine, 38 years ago. Yeah. 35, 38 years ago. His name was Nick Ziss. He was the operations manager and warehouse manager for Onkyo USA. You probably heard of that CPG company. High-end receivers like Carver and all of them that were out there at the time. And I was cocky back then. And you know that question.
No.
You know that. Oh yes. Oh, I was bad. I was bad. But you know that question that you always get. Where do you see yourself in 2 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And if you ask my boss, I still call him my boss. He's my friend, but every time I talk about him, I say my boss. If you ask him what I said, this is exactly what I said to him. Jeff, where do you see you in 5 years? Nick, I'll be honest. I'm going to take your job in 2. That's what I said to him, and I got it. And I took it over, and I worked harder than anybody out there. I loaded thousands and thousands and thousands. You know, I would probably say close to 10,000 full truckloads that I loaded with my troops. We used to get dressed up to go into our offices. That's the way that we worked back then. I would bring a pair of jeans, a pair of sneakers, a guinea t-shirt, you know, at the end of the month, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, I would be in the trailer with my guys hand stacking stuff for Best Buys and Circuit City and all the major big box dealers out there. I wrote work instructions and very detailed work instructions for every big box dealer in the country. And I don't say, I still have it today. It's like this thick, you know, how do you stack them? And because Walmart had these specific pallet sizes, you had to stack it and the height to fit in there because it's just because of the operation. And I knew the operation, and if you didn't have it a certain thing, you have to break it down on the dock, and then they had to reconfigure it, and that cost you money and all this other kind of stuff. So, you know, it was my boss that said there are no stupid questions, just ask away. And I asked away, man. I didn't care what the hell it was, you know, and I just tried to do my thing, and he busted my you know what, and hung me out to dry, but it worked out.
Yeah, you know, folks, when he talks about Nick, he's really talking about Pharaoh Ramses II. So you keep that in mind. But the point still stands. You know, at some point, leaders in this industry have been led. There have been examples out there for them to emulate, as you have, as I have, and it takes us to pass that knowledge on to get the next generation to follow in our footsteps. And I think that's what TRMOS does. It helps pass the knowledge. It helps pass the torch to help the next generation better understand how this industry is supposed to work. It's supposed to work safely. It's supposed to work properly and still protect brand, image, name, etc. along the way. Because, you know, at the end of the day, all the fraud that we see, all the scams that are going on, all the theft that's taking place, it robs our image. It robs the brand. And it's our duty to protect that. When you're sitting in that logistics manager job, it's your duty to protect that in every way possible. And I don't think most, and I'm going to say most, I would dare say at least 75% out there, do not have that mentality built into them, constructed into them, drilled into them to help them achieve a success that our generation has been able to achieve in this space.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And, I read, I watch podcasts, I listen to a lot of people, just to see what they're talking about. And, like, for instance, quick example, like intermodal, right? Coming out of LA, the port of LA. 20 years ago, those boxes were all over the place. 25 years ago, all over the place underneath those bridge coming out of the ports there. They're still there today. 25. There's been no movement towards that, and you hear about the police out there, the CHIP. We don't have enough people in there, so you're slapping the wrist. They know where it's happening. They don't put people there. I mean, it's like it's the proactive thinking. They're more on the reactive side. It's like, what the hell are you guys doing, man? It's 25 years in the making. This just didn't happen overnight, and it's like, ooh, it's happening all the time. We've got to solve this problem. There's so many different things out there that you notice and you see, and you try to understand. Did I go for a ride in a police car and security and looking at all these things? Sure, I did that. That's how I learned. Did I go for a ride with a carrier and a truck driver? Absolutely. Went on a long haul, short haul, because I wanted to understand and know what these drivers are all about. So I had a little bit more respect for them and understanding of how much pressure that they have and all the a-holes that are out there, the things that they do to these carriers. It makes you want to appreciate them more and understand their day and why they're pissed off when they bump your dock because they had a bad day. Most of them have a bad day because they're putting up with all this bullshit. I used to take care of my drivers. That was different, asked about their family. They're all about the business, gave them coffee, gave them pizza on Friday mornings, asked about their family, knew their kid's name, their wives, their likes, their dislikes. How many people actually do that today? How many know their drivers?
I want to dip into.
You have to have laws to let them use your bathroom. Come on, guys. Oh. That's just. This is how you destroy relationships. This isn't how you build them. And I say this all the time, and I'm not afraid to say it. I hate brokers. That's the reason why I became one, because of all the shit that I had to put up for 35 years from these brokers, the new ones that came on board and stuff that didn't know anything about this. And I talk about the knowledge base and understanding before you make those calls. Who are you reaching out to? Who's the guy in charge? What's his background? How much knowledge does he have? What's the product line? How big is the company? What's the revenue? All this instead of the pray and spray and stuff like that. I'm very strategic of who I go. Do I have a lot of customers? No, I don't have a lot of customers, but I have the customers that are going to be there for a while, and I'm going to take care of them. You can't do business this way. It's all the shortcuts, and when you have those shortcuts, you're going to open yourself up for vulnerability and risk. Because you're not detailed enough to understand and look for those loopholes and gaps.
Let me pull you back for 1 second, Jeff, because man, I just love the hell out of this. I know we're coming up towards the top of the hour. We're going to have to start wrapping up in a few minutes, but I got a couple of questions here from Michael Darden over here on LinkedIn that I wanted to address. He was asking you whether or not you've used any AI to help produce any of the content for this tool. And are you concerned about AI learning it from you and then sharing it to others without utilizing your process?
That's it. And I know Mike. I'm part of his program too. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that comment. I've taken a lot of the information that I've built from my past engagements. I have a stack of stuff behind me that I brought up there, and then I used a little bit of AI. I do use AI for my image making. I've learned how to do that. It's a great tool. It speeds things up. But when consolidating and stuff like that, yes, I did use a little bit of that, but most of it is just pounding stuff for 7.5 months. I think I may have talked to Mike about this some time ago when we had a conversation. Mike's a very smart guy. If you're not connected to Mike Darden, I strongly recommend it. If you want to talk about technology and the stuff that he's built, I won't mention the companies that he's built and what they did with his technology, but there's a lot of things out there right now that wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for Mike and what he did with it. So again, look him up. Strongly recommend that you connect with him, and even if you have a chance, have a conversation with him if you want to learn a lot.
That's awesome. Let's go ahead and start wrapping this up. Adam, you've barely been able to say anything. I've seen you've been working like a dog over there.
Working like a madman today, baby. That's what I get for being out of the office yesterday.
Yeah. You have any wrap-up comments, questions, concerns?
No, not really. I think it's super interesting. This is a 1,000-foot view. I'm sure once we really break down and get into it, mind will be blown and you'll have 1,000 more questions. But I've known Jeff for a long time, known him to be a man of integrity, and I know that he's put his full heart and soul into this. So I'm sure that it will be probably the premier service out there once he gets full legs and gets up and running.
Awesome.
I
Jeff,
that.
I know you've pretty much spent the entire hour plugging your program, but do you have any plugs, questions, issues, last-minute thoughts you want to get out there?
No, the biggest thing is discipline and accountability, and how much that you have that built into your organization. Mike Darden and I talk about standards, and his business is about standards and writing the right standards and stuff like that. The biggest question that I have for everybody out there is, are you prepared? Like, if somebody walked in there and said, show me your processes and standards and how you conduct business and move forward, how fast can you produce that? Or are you just waiting? This is the time to be proactive. This is not the time to be reactive. You saw what SCOTUS did with the decision on Montgomery and how it affects brokers, shippers out there. If you think that you are not going to be pulled into the mix, you got another thing coming. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think it's going to happen in the next quarter or half after they take care of this right now and start getting rid of all the issues that they have. Prepare yourself now. Give me a call. Reach out to me. Again, this is a consulting thing because I got too much involved into this. I've worked on your side. I know your side. I know your operations. I have the practical experience. Doesn't cost a dime to have a chat. It really doesn't. So thank you for the opportunity of being here, and I hope that people learn some more about this and what it's all about and how it could possibly help you out. So thank you.
Well, folks, by the end of today, I will have the PowerPoint presentation up on my website, vigilanttransport.com. And if you have any other questions, you can always email Jeff at jeffd@rgtxlogistics.com. It's on your screen in front of you, so you can see it. But please don't hesitate to reach out to Jeff. This is important stuff. This is legacy building type stuff. And it's very important for the industry that we keep each other and the next generation educated in every facet of the supply chain. Folks, with that, I want to wrap it up. I want to thank the Lounge Media Group, Logistics Lounge, Road Dog Coffee Podcast for graciously having me back on the network. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for catching us. And we will look forward to seeing you guys noon Eastern time every Thursday for our upcoming shows. Catch you guys next week. Have a good one. Please be sure to like and subscribe to all of our social media, and be sure to visit our merch store at vigilanttransport.com. Until next time, don't let scammers take you for a ride.